Good morning, my name is Jacob Folger. I'm an artist sculptor, and today we're going to make an owl sitting on a rock. And what I'm doing here is sealing the rock with an acrylic product, which I will put in the video description down below the video in the tool and supply list. Also down there in the video description below the video, I will put baking instructions for the clay and any other support information you may need for this tutorial. Now I'm just going to do one coat of the acrylic on the rock. Make sure I got good coverage. Working it into all the striations and details. There we go. Just need one coat, and then I'm going to rinse my brush off, get it good and clean, because the acrylic will stick to the brush and ruin it. Now I'm propping the rock up on this little tool here to stop it from laying down flat, because I want it to dry all the way around. Now before we started, I conditioned my clay. I'll just do a little bit more right here. The acrylic will dry on the rock fairly quickly, but we're not ready to use it yet. We're going to do most of the sculpting of the owl before we put it on the rock, because there's a lot of detail work to do. And we're working in Polymer clay. This is Sculpey 3 brand, and I use black because I like the way my finishes look on it. And closer to the end of the video, I'm going to show you how I do my finishes. Now I'm going to start by rolling a ball like that, and then I'm going to roll it into an oblong shape, which is kind of cone shaped as well. So the head of the owl will be up here and his body down here. Kind of like that. Now I'm going to take my thumbs and press in to form the shape of the eyes. And if I go from this direction and then from this direction, I can get a nice good circle for the eyes. I'm going to pull down some tools here that I like to use. I didn't really get ready before I started. So rock is about drying now. I'm just going to turn it up that way. I'm going to take a little ball of clay and form the shape of an oblong shape and put it on here between the eyes, and that's going to be for the beak. And blending it in all the way around. I like to put the beak on before I start detailing the eyes, because it can obscure what I'm doing. You know, it can mess up the clay around them when I'm putting the beak on. Now I can take my thumb and go around this area here and push in, and that brings that out. See how it brings it out there? Just by pushing in, it brings it out. So it looks like that. I'm also going to push up on this now to kind of round it, because before that it was a little bit oval shaped. The eye surround was oval shaped, and I didn't really care for it like that, so I'm just molding it a little bit differently now. And it's okay if this is rough, because we're going to add texture and make it look nice when we're done. Okay, now, whoops, now I'm going to take a little ball tool, and I'm going to press in here to create the eye sockets for the eyes. Like that. I'm going to do that on both sides. So it looks like that. Next I'm going to start making a ball of clay to go in for the eyeball. I want to make sure it's the right size. It should be level with the front of the eye, even with the front of the eye. So like that. And then I'll set that down. And make one like it, another one like it. So I've got a ball that's a little bit big, and I'm keep on setting it beside it to see if it's the right size. If it's not, I pull some off. And I just keep on doing that until I get the right size. And that's about the right size there. Put that in the eye socket, and the other one in the eye socket, like that. Now I'm gonna I want his eyes looking off to the left, so I'm gonna take this smaller ball tool, and you can see I'm turning the tool. That keeps it from sticking to the clay. So he's looking off to the left. Then I'm going to take a little bit of clay, a little ball of clay, and roll it into a shape like that and flatten it slightly. And put it over top of the eye like that. I'm just going to leave it there for a minute and come around to the other side and do the same thing. And I'm trying to match them up so they look about the same. Now I'm going to blend the top of the eyelid into the head, or the rest of the eye surround. I'm going to take a tool and use a tool to do that because it'll be easier for me. My hands are kind of big, so it's kind of hard to sometimes get in there with my fingers. Just sort of sculpting and blending it back into the ice surround. It looks like a big saddled owl looking to the left. That's kind of what I was looking for to try to do. Not sad, but kind of droopy and sleepy. Now I'm just going to kind of redefine that surround, the eye surround, a little bit. There we go. He's cool. Now I'm going to take a ball tool, and I want to try to redefine the eye surround a little bit more on both sides. That's kind of a particular thing about owls. They have that around their eyes, and so I want to make sure it's really clear that he's an owl. Now I'm going to take this sculpting tool, which is a little bit sharper here, and I'm going to put in lines going around the eye. Like that. I'm going to do that on both sides. There we go. There he is so far. Now I'm kind of thinking, you know, sometimes I just create on my feet, I call it. I think it might be pretty neat if we had him possibly doing something like, I'm thinking about playing a guitar. I've heard of owls playing guitar. I've made a couple over my career, and they're kind of fun. So let's do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to make a guitar here, and we have to make sure it's the right size for him first of all. So I'm just holding this piece of clay up to kind of get an idea if it's going to be too big or too small or whatever. So roll it into an oblong shape, just see how that looks. Yeah, that might work. Okay, I'm just going to take a little bit more clay off. Okay, so I'm rolling it into a ball to start off with, like that. Then I'm rolling it into a noodle, like that. It's kind of a cone shape. And then I'm pressing it flat slightly. And I'm going to take this tool and I'm going to roll it into the side to create the cutout of the guitar shape. And I'm just shaping it basically to be the shape of a guitar, the head of the guitar. And it takes a little bit of patience and perseverance. I've got to go over it again. I've got to try to make it a little bit bigger, a little bit thicker, I think. So I'm rolling another ball that's a little bit bigger this time, rolling it into an oblong shape, pressing it not flat, but just flattening it slightly. And I'm going to I've made my fair share of guitars, so it's just a matter of getting it right. It's going to be a really skinny guitar, but I'm going to go for it like this. Then as you press it flatter, I should say, it makes it broader. It broadens the size of it. And that's what we got. So it's a stylized guitar shape. Now I'm going to hold it up to him. And I'm going to, now I know where I want to put it, so I'm going to put some score marks on the back of it. And then on its front. And then I'm going to take some Sculpey Bacon Bond. Just put a little dab on. Now, I was talking to one of the tutorial students, and she said that when she uses the Sculpey Bacon Bond, it gets all slippery and messy. Well, if you watch me, I'm always saying just a little dab, just a little bit. Just use a little bit. I want to say that and reiterate that, because otherwise you're probably going to have a big slippery, sloppy mess. And then when you put the guitar on, just twist it slightly as you're applying pressure. And also that same person said that they were doing something really big, so they felt like they had to use lots more. Well, it's really not the case, because you really want to just use a little bit. You don't want to use a lot more if you're doing something big. Okay. Now we need a piece of wire, because we're going to connect the neck of the guitar to the guitar. So what I do is I cut. Now this wire is galvanized steel wire. Ideally you would use 18 gauge. This is a little thin, but this is all I have on hand. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it in half and then twist it, and that will make it a lot stronger. Like that. Like that. So it's like that. Now I'm going to make a neck. Now this is a stylized guitar, and it's also more suggestive of a guitar. So it's basically not going to look exactly like a guitar, because it's a suggestion. You'll know it's a guitar, but it's going to be stylized and not as detailed as a regular guitar, because I'm basically just suggesting, letting people know this is a guitar. Then you take your wire. Once you roll a noodle that's about the size of the neck of a guitar, you stick the wire in to the neck, and when you're holding it with your fingers, you'll be able to feel the wire on the inside, and you'll know if it's coming close to the surface. So just keep that in mind. If it's coming close to the surface, just redirect it. It takes a little bit of practice, but I hardly ever go outside of the noodle of clay. And then I'm going to just cut off some of this because I don't need it that long. And watch the flying wire. Flying wire is not a good thing, so be careful of that. Also, you don't want it on your floors, because if you step on it, it can be problematic. So then I just stuck it into the top of the guitar head, twist it into place, and then you can also blend it in if you want, or and then you can also take a ball tool like this and put a hole in it for the sound hole. Keeping in mind that you always want to, whenever you're using a ball tool or most any tool where you're sticking it in the clay, you want to rotate it. Otherwise suction develops and it gets stuck. So that's where we are. Okay, now we're going to make the arms or the wings, I should say. So we're going to get a little bit of clay. Now this is, basically creation in progress. This is not cookie cutter, so it's going to take a little extra work to get the wings and everything to look really cool. We start off with a ball of clay, like this, and then roll it so that it's a cone shape. Probably like that. Let me just hold it up to see if that's going to be about right. Looks about right. So now I'm going to squeeze and sort of flatten it down a little bit. And I'm also kind of shaping it so it's like that shape there. It's a little bit wide. I don't think I want it that wide. So we are gonna cut it. After I just said it's not cookie cutter, but it's not cookie cutter. That's not cookie cutter. Just gonna cut it here a little bit and make it less wide. And it looks like that. So this is the end of the wing, and this is where it connects with the shoulder. And just shaping it. So kind of like that. It'll sit on there. Now I'm going to use, let's see, I've got an X-Acto knife here. I'm going to cut. I want to give it the impression of fingers. So 3 fingers like that. And then I'm going to bring the finger out and separate it. And kind of make it like that. Let's see if I can pick it up here so you can see it. Kind of like that, and then I'll bring this back. Okay, so that's how it looks so far. So the fingers look like they're, you know, or the wingtips look like fingers. And then you bring this back here and just snip it off wherever it looks best on the shoulder. And then we'll do the same on the other side for the, and we'll sculpt them in a little bit. But first I want to get the other wing going. So I roll it into a noodle shape like that. That's basically a cone shape. And let's see, this is going to be the top of the hand right here. So kind of like that shape. Remember we did that? Like that. Take your time on this. You know, I know that a lot of folk, when they're sculpting, they get impatient. I just want to get it done. I want to get it done, take a picture and put it on Facebook. I have to do that. I have to do it right away. You know what I tell people? This is what I say. Get it started, get working on it, get it looking to almost completion, maybe not quite done, okay? Even if it's got a lot of work left on it. Take a picture of it, put it on Facebook and say, in progress. Then you can post it again later when you finish it. How about that? I do that a lot, actually, because I'm the same way. I'm the same way. It's very human. You want to show your friends. You want your friends to see what you're doing. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so we got that. That looks about the same size as that. The only thing is, it's kind of thick. I don't want it so thick, so I'm just squeezing it down now and forming it a little bit better and making it less thick. And then I'll take my blade, and this could just be a kitchen knife if you don't have an X-Acto knife. There we go. Yeah, take your time, and you can show pictures of it in progress, you know. That's what I say. And that's what I do. I do the same thing. I'm gonna just I'm gonna slim this down a little bit here. Just cut some off. And then it goes up under the guitar. And onto the shoulder. And then just blend it in. Now I want to tell you something about baking polymer clay. If you don't do an awesome job of conditioning it, you might get cracking. So, and I hope to do a video soon on how to fix cracks on polymer clay. Because I think it's a problem that people are facing a lot. It happens to me once in a while, even when I do a really good job of conditioning, but I do some bulky pieces sometimes, like this one here I just did this weekend. It's a bear. Look at his butt, it's huge. So you know, so you can get that. You can also use foil for a core to take up a lot of the space, so that it's you first of all will use far less clay, but you also can diminish the cracking issue. So, but this is my new bear, playful bear. And okay, so now we've got the wings on there, and you can cut them in. Use the sculpting tool to kind of cut them in. And you know, also curving the fingers a little bit, or the wing tips, can make it look pretty cool. And then you can start to texture it. I say, you know, probably on something like this, before you put it on the stone, is get a lot of the work done. And you can go around and texture the wings just by drawing or carving little lines into the clay like that. You see how I'm doing that? You can do it on the whole body, so it looks like feathers. Okay, so I've got a lot of the texture put on the owl, and let's see how it looks. Now, by handling it to put it on the stone, it probably will get obscured a little bit, and I'll have to go back and touch it up. But it looks pretty good so far. I really like the look. Now I've got my stone here, and if your stone is not flat on one side, you can take, assuming you painted the whole thing with the acrylic, you can put a piece of clay on the bottom to act as a foot, like that. Now my stone is flat, but I'm just using this, showing you as an example. So if I put that on there and press down, it'll flatten it out like that, and it'll make it even on the bottom. But I don't need that, so I'm going to take it off. There we go. And you can also use Bacon Bond in lieu of the acrylic, and or with the acrylic. I often use it with the acrylic, but on occasion I don't want the stone to be shiny, so I'll just use the Sculpey Bacon Bond. So just keep that in mind. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little dab, remember, on the stone. I'm going to try to cradle the owl as much as possible, so that I'm not pressing on it to obscure the work that I just did. I am going to score the bottom of the owl, because it will give more opportunity for the adhesive to join the two pieces and keep it a good bond. And then I'm going to put it on, careful not to you know, squeeze and push down on the head. I'm just going to twist it into place like that. And it's actually, at this point, is on there pretty good. Let's see how he looks on there. And then I'm going to take little noodles of clay sharpen the end slightly, like that. And put them underneath him, facing outwards like little toes. You can also use Bacon Bond here. The way I would do that is just make your little toes and just a little dab. There we go, and put a couple more dabs of or just a line or something like that across for the other toes. They are going in fairly close together. And then one more, so I'm doing 3 toes on each foot. And what I do is just to give some definition between the toes, between the 2 feet, just put a space in there. And use a tool to cut the toes into the body. So it kind of looks like that. Then what you can do is, if you have a tool like this, you can define the toenails a little bit. Pardon me, by just applying a little pressure with the tool at the end of the toe. Like that. And then I'm going to move these feet apart a little bit more. Try to do that. Now you can go back and any of the texturing that you did that's been obscured by your hands touching the sculpture, you can go back and touch that up. And he's a goofy, funny little guy playing the guitar. So we'll come back in a minute after you touched it all up and make sure everything's tight and in good shape. We'll do a finish on him. I'm going to get a little bit of bronze on my finger here. This is Pearl Etched Pigments. Let me show you the bottle so you see what it looks like. Pearl Etched Pigments. And I'm using antique bronze is the finish. I get some on my finger. I put it on a lid, get some in my finger, swirl it like that, and then just highlight the sculpture. And of course I'm I'm just touching it barely so I don't like obscure the texture of the sculpture. And for me, I'm looking for just a subdued look. And I'm going to get as much as I can with my finger, and then I'm going to go back with the brush and get what I can't get with my finger. And then what I'll do is I'll take a paintbrush and I'll get it a little bit wet. I'll dab off most of the water and dip it in the bronze and then dab it off again. Get most of it off. And then I'll just touch it up. Nice light touch. If the brush starts to dry out, I'll go ahead and get it a little wet again. And the owl has come away from the stone, so I need to fix that. So what I'm going to do, you can see it's kind of away from the stone here. So what I'm going to do is take my paintbrush, and this is just something that happens, and it doesn't happen very often, but you definitely want to address it. So, and each time it happens, or if something like that happens, the way you address it may be differently, but it's not completely away, so I'm not going to pull it completely away. I'm going to get some glue under, some adhesive underneath there, and it'll probably be okay. So the other thing you could do is you could take a ball of clay. In fact, I think I'll just do that just to show you. Go ahead and make sure it's good in condition, because it's going to be a little bit bulky, and roll it into a ball. I'm going to take it off the stone. This is just something that could happen, and it did, and so I want to deal with it on camera. So basically I've got this little mound now. I'm going to grab a piece of paper, because the mound would stick to the table fairly readily, so I'm going to take it and stick it to the paper instead. That way I can get it off there easily enough. And I'm going to work it up off the stone. Using the knife. The toes are kind of holding it on there. There we go. And I think I'm gonna have to redo the toes. So I've got the new base there. I'm going to score the top of it, score the bottom of the owl, put some glue on it, and twist it gently to not obscure the owl's features. And that's how we deal with that. I mean, I could have put it back on the stone, but I just wanted to give you options as to what you could do. And that's a rare thing, by the way. That's why I didn't want to build the owl after I put it on the stone. I wanted to do the owl first, and then we go back and the toes got messed up, so we have to go back and make the toes. And I'm just going to do that off camera because you've already seen how that was done. So I'm going to put the toes on and I'll come back. Okay, there we are. We have him in his new home. And I think one last thing I think would be good is if we put a little tail on him. So we get kind of an afterthought. I mean, this is, you know, really, in truth, this is how sculpture is. I mean, sometimes things work out like a charm. In fact, they often do for me. But sometimes they don't. And, you know, what do you do if you run into situations? Well, this is a nice real life video here. I just put a tail on there. I'm going to take a sculpting tool and blend it in. And then take another sculpting tool. This is a nice sharper blade on it. Even though it's wood, it's got a pretty sharp blade on it. Oh no. There we go. There's the little guy here. Now you want to go to the video manager, the video description down below the video, and you'll find again the tool and supply list and clay baking instructions. Follow the instructions in there and then bake your owl, and we'll come back. Okay, we're back with our owl, and we're just finishing up now. I just want to show you what he looks like all the way around. There's this new tail, and he turned out pretty cool. I like him. I think he's alright. Had a little bit of trouble there. Rocky road. Actually had problems with it on the rock. Didn't work out. That's a rare thing. It doesn't happen to me very often, but it happened today, and I want to go ahead and let it fly and show you what the story is and what just something that you could do as an option. I really actually like this base a lot. I think the base is quite nice. If you like this kind of content, please subscribe to my channel. Let me know what you think of the video today, and give me a thumbs up. Let me know you liked it. Please share the video with your friends. Again, subscribe to my channel. I have hundreds of videos, nearly 700 now, on a wide variety of subjects, mostly polymer clay though. Thank you so much for watching. Be creative, have lots of fun in your life, and have a fantastic day.